So a native of Corpus Christi who has gone on to write the novel version of a famous animated movie came to Woodlawn Elementary today. Diana Lopez is an author from Corpus Christi, and some of her stories even take place in the city. One of her books, also taking place in Corpus, caught the attention of a Disney Pixar higher-up who asked her to write the novel adaptation of the movie Coco. And today she visited Woodlawn Elementary to talk with students about her newest book.
I'm here at Woodlawn Elementary to share with the students my new book. It's called Lucky Luna, and the story actually takes place in Woodlawn Elementary.
Wow, how cool is that? That book will even be getting a Spanish language translation in January, and of course it will be called Luna Fortuna.